Welcome to Life List, a birding podcast.
Hello. Welcome, everybody. This is Life List, a birding podcast. I am George Armistead here with my co-host, Molly Brown. Molly, how are you doing today?
Hey, George. I'm doing great. Home from my West Virginia tour, getting ready for the next thing, which is going to be on the day this comes out, getting married at our place. So it's a good reason to come in out of the rain and attempting to do wedding prep to record this podcast.
Yes, looking forward to this. It's going to be a ton of fun. Finally get to see this yard, quote unquote, that we've been hearing about. It's actually much more than a yard.
It's going to be so muddy.
Yes, it's going to be I actually bought a new pair of ankle-high, extra tough boots.
Oh, you're going to be fancier than me.
I was like, these are perfect. Yeah, they're like designer extra toughs. So I was like,
that's awesome.
Yeah, no, I'm stoked to have an excuse to wear them. So
yeah, come break them in.
Yeah, we'll do some eye natting. We're going to get that green snake for you. It's all going to come together. Cool. Well, we should dive in here. We have a really special guest that we are super glad to have with us today. Tim Appleton began his career in bird conservation working for Sir Peter Scott at the Wildfowl and Wetlands Trust in 1970. He went on to co-found the first and biggest bird fair, which he ran for 31 years, today known as the Global Birdfair in Rutland, England, which we're going to talk about that. He also founded Global Birding in 2020 at globalbirding.org, and it aims to inspire birdwatchers to come together as a global community and celebrate birds by participating in birdwatching events, citizen science, and conservation. And it's proven incredibly successful, people joining from all over the world. 1996, Tim led also a reintroduction of ospreys as a breeding bird to England. Definitely want to hear about that. He's been awarded an MBE, which is a member of the Order of the British Empire, a British honor awarded by the monarchy for those with an outstanding achievement or service to the community. And he's awarded the Cadbury Medal also for service in conservation. With a lifelong career in conservation and management, his ethos is to bring people together, inspire them, and help global conservation. Tim, we are so pleased to have you with us today. How are you doing?
Gosh, is that really all about me? I'm sure. I can't believe it. I'm very well. I'm actually so pleased to be with you both today. I mean, it's a real honor to be here and talk to you guys and hopefully spread the word a little bit about what we've done in the UK and, what I hope to do in the last few years of my life before, I get rowed out into the middle of this reservoir that I live next to and dumped on the other over the side. So, yeah, I'm really looking forward to a good chat with you guys and also to sort of tell more and more people in the States and all your listeners around the world, what an incredible thing you can do if you've got the passion and love for wildlife and conservation. So, I'm looking forward to chatting to you both.
Yes, we're looking forward to digging in. But first, Tim, we are fascinated by the background. You gave us a little bit of a preview before we started recording. Tell us where you are right now.
Okay, I'm actually in the sitting room working on the fair, but I'm lucky enough that I can look out of the window on my right here and I can see part of this huge reservoir that I helped construct and design way back in the mid-70s. I'm that old. And so it's an incredible sight because I'm so lucky because literally it's right on the water's edge, 50 meters, and I could be swimming almost. I don't, but it's right there. And the incredible thing about it is, I try to record as many species as possible I can see every year, and I'm on 125 different species of birds from a single garden. So it's probably the best garden list in the whole, or yard as I think you call them in the States, list in the UK. So really, really exciting. And if you suddenly see me dive out and because 126 has just flown past, and I'll be chasing out through the window and away to it. So it's really good, and it's a lovely area because just before I came on, I went out and I could hear a cuckoo calling, an osprey flew by. We have a big colony of nesting cormorants up in the trees, probably about 100 pairs.
Wow.
There's so much happening out here, and it's one of the loveliest things about it. Where I live, the house is up to 400 years old. It's a lovely little cottage, and it's the gatehouse to a massive, great stately home on the hillside. So, I'm very much the poor neighbour, but it's just lovely. Sort of the whole ambience of everything. It's just a lovely spot to live in. I'm very, very lucky. And it was actually part of my salary when I first started in 1975 was to design it all and create this place called Rutland Water. And I remember it was £1,000 a year, and which is what, about sort of $1,500 a year plus the cottage. But luckily, I bought it later in life, and
Wow.
it's just a great place. A lot of people love it. And every day people come down and we gather in the garden and do a half hour. And average in half an hour is between 45 and 50 to 60 species. So
My goodness.
Yeah.
Especially for England, that's remarkable. I mean, I think your list is about what my cumulative list is for my yard here for the past couple of years.
Yeah,
but I missed quite a bit of time due to travel.
Yeah.
Now, I didn't realize this, but this is also your home is the location of the Global Birdfair, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean,
That's so
basically,
cool.
I started, as I say, as the sort of warden, then became the manager of the site from 1975 until I retired as the sort of site manager in 2017. So, I've been here all these years. I've seen many, many things come and go. Done lots of exciting things. And of course, one of the things we did start way back in 1989 was the original British Birdwatching Fair, which in fact was and still is the first bird fair anywhere in the world. And what's been fabulous about it is it's inspired so many bird fairs around the world. And even better for me is, of course, I get invited to go and open new ones. So it's given me an opportunity to extend my sort of bird list around the world. But it's just going and seeing so many people enjoying themselves, watching birds, networking. And I think that's one of the key things, particularly for our bird fair, that people do come from all over the world. In 6 weeks' time, we'll be putting up the first marquees. In 8 weeks' time, the doors open for a 3-day event. And there will be more than 60 countries exhibiting, talking about conservation, talking about promoting, conservation and nature tourism, and particularly nature tourism is something very close to my heart. We call it positive ecotourism, whereby the local people benefit. And of course, if the local people benefit, they save the forests, they save the wetlands, they save this because they can see the future for their kids. And that's so much part of my life has been trying to encourage people. Travel can be difficult, can be bad for the environment, but nature positive. And we're very careful about the number of companies that we have coming to the fair. It is probably the biggest ecotourism fair in the world, without a doubt. But we do try to make sure that they are all positive people looking and caring for the environment and for local people. And it's really, I'm whittling on, but, it all started because in 1984, I opened our first birdwatching centre on the edges of this reservoir.
Mm-hmm.
About a certain person, you've probably ever heard of him. I think his name David Attenborough or something, Oh, yes, David.
Possibly we've heard of him.
He was a very good friend of mine. He's been an amazing support.
Wow.
He opened that centre. And interestingly, it gave me the opportunity. I suddenly thought, oh wow, we could use it not just for visitors coming in, but we could have a painting exhibition here. We could have a flower show. We could have this and that, and that really led me to think about, well. And of course, a lot of people came to it. They loved it. Wow, we didn't realize you could test a pair of binoculars out. We thought we just had to go to the high street and, be held onto by a piece of string while they showed you, you were let out the door so they didn't run off with the binoculars and things. And so it was amazing. And that I then went to a thing called the Game Fair, which is more for the sort of outdoor wildlife, shooting, sort of wildlife, but, shooting, fishing,
hunting.
Yeah, I thought, oh, this is great, but there's nothing about wildlife and nothing about conservation. So I thought, well, what about doing something? So I managed to persuade a wonderful company called Swarovski, who in fact are my sponsors and have been for many, many years. But they gave me £2,000 in 1989 to hold the first one. And since then, it's just grown and grown. And I've raised now, I think it's just over £43 million for conservation around the world.
That is amazing. Astounding figure.
And so many people have enjoyed it. And that's what's so lovely about it. It is the most incredible event. And hopefully people will look online this year. Oh, of course, you can't see this, but this year particularly, I'm really excited because we'll be looking at You'll see it. The albatrosses, particularly
Yes.
in the South Pacific, where we're going to be working in Fiji, Vanuatu, and in French Polynesia to try to save we're using the iconic Antipodean albatross as a
Big
good
woolly
example.
bears, I like to call them, the big woolly bears.
Exactly, yeah. But
Yeah.
of course, they are getting hooked by fishermen who don't want to hook them. They
Yeah.
want to catch as many tuna or whatever it is. So again, we're working to try to educate, particularly the sort of the smaller fishermen, the big companies that save the birds, and this will have a major impact. So, and we did it. Which would be 25 years ago. We funded the first ever getting birds off the hook in 2000, and that started the whole process. So,
The hook
Global
pods.
Birdfair, yeah, Global Birdfair really has a massive impact, far more than I think anybody ever really appreciates. They just say,
Yeah.
"Oh, another little fair." No, it's not. It's doing amazing work around the
Now,
world.
I got to go, I think it was in 2018 or 2019. I was there with Rock when I was working at Rock Jumper and came with Adam Riley and the team. And I'd heard a lot about it from them and from other colleagues before going. And I think something like 30,000 people were there one day. And it was just like, it was astounding. I remember the marquees for the optics tents in particular are really like nothing I've ever seen before. Having spent a lot of time, especially when I was program manager for events manager for the American Birding Association. I would go to a lot of festivals, and but going to Bird Fair was just a whole different ball of wax. It was a bigger event than anything I've seen. The optics were huge spots with all the scopes lined up, looking out at the reservoir. It was just good birding, not to
Yeah.
mention that you were getting to test out all the best optics that exist. And of course, very often that will be the site at which people are premiering some new optics thing.
Yeah.
I will say, Tim, one of the things I remember best of all was the whiskey tent there there was a there yeah there was a well there was one of the I forget
That's
one
probably
of
where
the
we met, was it?
there was an islet. It was one of the islets, I think, had like a little booth. And
That's right.
I think, the raptor expert, Dick Forsman, I remember meeting him there and somebody else. Before I knew it, I'd been whisked away to the whiskey tent.
Wow.
And boy, it was a slippery slope. A couple minutes there really made the rest of the day fly by. But aside from that, I mean, it really is an incredible event, just completely different. And so this year, do you have a different conservation focus each year
Yeah,
at
absolutely.
Bird Fair?
Yeah, absolutely. So basically, what happens? We work very closely with BirdLife International. BirdLife will come, and I've done this right from the beginning. The thing that basically, I wanted the fair to do three things, but way back in '89, and nothing's really ever changed since. I wanted it to be a showcase for the industry because, again, there was nothing, like you just said, where, half a dozen, now, of course, virtually every single optical company imaginable, plus the camera people and stuff like that, come, and people spend tens of thousands of pounds. I mean, in one field alone, we think that probably at least £500,000 worth of binoculars are sold in 3 days and that sort of stuff. So I wanted to be an industry for everything, but I also wanted it to be a meeting place. And I wanted it to be a place where people could come and just enjoy the birds, enjoy meeting each other, making new friends, meeting old friends. And of course, I wanted to do something for conservation. Now, the RSPB, which is our equivalent of Audubon, I think, in the States, has already 1.2 million members. So I thought, well, come on, why should I put money into the UK when there's so many people involved in conservation here anyway? So that's when I went to BirdLife, said, look, you've got 120 partners around the world. What can I do with my X amount of money? I have no idea how much I could raise to begin with. I think it was like 3,000 the first year, then it went up to 10,000 and blah, 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 and so on. So now what they do every year, they send me about half a dozen projects that they see as global priorities. And I will go, like that one, not sure I can do that one, so on and so on. And then usually pick up about 3 of them and say, right, I want more information. I want a budget. I want this, what we can do. And, I've got to think about, the public, will they want to support something in this country? Maybe not, maybe. But what can we really do? I'll just give you an example. One of the years, I think it's a couple of years ago, they wanted me to help with the Indian bustard. Now, the Indian bustard's down to about 150 birds, possibly
Yeah.
even less. But it's massive. It's a huge project. You've got to change government. You've got to do this. You've got to do that. You've got to create more, connection with the farmers. Great project, but there's no way my £100,000 or whatever is going to have any impact. So, that was great, but it wasn't for us. And so, last year, for ACT, I'll show you, probably saw this. I've just come back from Egypt, where we supported a project in Galala. And the impact is incredible. We took £100,000 out with us, my partner and I, who do the whole of Birdfair. Nobody else, we do the whole damn lot. Incredible. And we went out, we met the Minister of the Environment. She was amazing. She had no idea, the impact we could have or what would have with the money we were going to do and give them. And it's basically going to create a fantastic new observatory right up on the highlands of overlooking the Red Sea, opposite Sinai. And while we were there, about 4,000 raptors went through, but they get about 400,000 raptors.
Wow.
And I was so keen to sort of get a proper observation. They'll have an education centre there as well. And what was lovely about it is that it joins up with places like Batumi, which is in Georgia. You may or may not know, but we're trying to make sure we get this sort of route of raptors and other migratory birds, coming through, that they can be recorded. And with the likes of cabs who do all this amazing work to try to stop all the illegal poaching in Malta, in Lebanon and other areas, we can start plotting and making sure these routes are absolutely secure for the future.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember, I think the Batumi Raptor Watch was a spot that was spotlighted by the Champions of the Flyways one year when I was there. They were trying to stop the illegal shooting of raptors, illegal trapping and shooting of raptors.
And it's making a difference. And suddenly the local people who were shooting in Batumi are now providing accommodation, for people to come and stay. And they're actually getting grants to the local government, the local regional governments, to improve their, bedrooms, toilets, blah, blah, all that sort of stuff. So, it's great, so I don't shoot them anymore. I go out and protect them because I want people to come and spend lots of money in my house.
It's a
That's
win-win.
what it's all about, local people.
Well, Tim, I have learned a lot from you already. I'm just sitting here thinking that I should have hired you as my wedding planner. Here I am worrying about, a couple of people coming out here this weekend, and you have tens of thousands of people in your backyard every single year.
Yes, and they're all lovely people. As I'm sure all the lovely people, your guests and your family, you'll have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. The rain will stop, the sun will come out, George can throw his boots away, and he'll be in his sandals before you know where you are.
We might need to find a whiskey tent in the next couple of days, though.
Yeah,
that
that's
might
right.
be an idea to take.
Yeah, there's got to be a still around somewhere in those woods.
Okay. So I really love hearing this story, too, because I think I hear about Birdfair, a lot of Americans hear about Birdfair, and we know it's huge. And it's really fascinating to trace it back to where it started, which is you with an idea and something that turns out could have grown a lot. But you've also talked about how you like inspiring people like this. So I'm just curious what you say to folks who have these sorts of just ideas of taking something local and have a conservation passion in mind. How do you bring people together, and whether or not you want it to get as big as Global Birdfair? I don't think anybody else has ever done that, so I don't know if that's exactly possible, but even for small stuff, what do you say to folks about that?
Just catching up with what you said last year about, nobody's tried to do things. My great friend, sadly no longer with us, Bill Thompson, the third, he and I traveled widely. I feel a strange feeling all going down my spine now just talking about him. But he had this great idea with the Ohio Bird Fair, which, was good. But the issue, for example, in the States is just too big, to have one location. I've always said to him, in the past, you need to have one in the south, one in the east, one in the west, and one in the north, and rotate them on a 4-year, and then you will get big audiences. If you have it in the same place, and travel is so broad in the States, people aren't going to keep coming back. You just need refreshing it. But going back to what you say, how do you inspire people? You inspire people by I think one of the things that people love doing is volunteering, and volunteering gets difficult. There's all these things about health and safety and risk assessments, which I mean are important, but it's finding the right location. I mean, starting in your own yard, what better way of sort of engaging with birds is to, feed and look for, and just enjoy it and record. Now, one of the great things that I'm involved in, and we've mentioned it a little bit about global birding. Global birding was built on eBird and on Global Big Day and October Big Day. So what a wonderful way. And when I look at the engagement on the States, it's unbelievable, the number of people who are putting in a particular checklist. I was looking at it a couple of days ago. I mean, this year we broke 4 world records, working with eBird. 203 different countries took part, and Penny again. If you want to stalk her, oh God, she's dreadful. She's the nicest possible stalker you could ever meet. But I mean, she will find and spend time, talking to some of these weird and wonderful countries and say, look, you must get involved. And it's gone. I mean, I actually looked at some stats the other day, and I noticed that way back in 2020, there were something like 6,479 people took part. This year, we was up to 7,973. So we're a tad off 8,000 birds, which is our target for October. I mean, 8,000 bird species in a single day.
Yeah, so it was like 7,900 or something. I was like, my God.
It is
7,973.
hard to comprehend.
Yeah.
But it is unbelievable that 71,244 eBirders took part. That's so many people in the communities around the world.
Yeah.
And that's really what for me is so passionate. And that's why we started Global Bird Weekend in October, because Penny and I thought, well, it's all well and good everyone just going out on one day, but, how do you engage with new people? So we said, right, well, let's do it Friday, Saturday and Sunday. Friday is learn, okay? Go to the local schools, go to the local universities, talk about wildlife. You don't have to be hardcore or anything like that. Just talk about, the value of nature to the health, to everything like that. So we go to schools. Saturday is obviously is actually counting. So that's great. So that's the other one. And then Sunday, in many ways, is even more important. We call it sharing. So share your passion. Take your neighbour out. Literally grab him out from behind the sofa where he's hiding so you don't come and get him and he wants to carry on watching neighbours television programme. And just take them out and really, really just show them the local birds in the park and just really, really enjoy it. So that's Global Bird Weekend's gone from strength to strength, and we're really, really happy with that.
Oh, it really has. Yeah. I love, the U.S., lots of folks go birding around this and around Global Big Day too. And sometimes I do that by myself on those days. Sometimes I've been part of teams that have signed up and have participated in that and everything. But being in other countries and in the ways that you've talked about, particularly where folks have a mission to find a species to contribute to the global count. And the way that those are organized, it's so much fun to see the cultural differences and how this is like a truly global celebration. It's amazing.
Yeah. I'll give you an example. One of the things we also ask people to do for global birding is to send in, a little video. So, Penny will be posting those, day in before and during and afters. And when the start of the horrendous war in Ukraine, we had 2 birders in the park in Kiev actually birding, and you could hear planes and all sorts of things, bombs going off behind them.
Oh, man.
And they were there and, they were sort of literally ducking. I mean, obviously, it was just the shock of the noise. But that's the passion people had. They wanted to take part. They wanted to show whatever's happening in this horrendous world at times, you can still share your love for wildlife conservation. And for me, that's just it brings a tear to your eye. It's so important.
Oh, it does. Yeah. I mean, you've really, the way you've set that up, welcomes anyone to participate in this too. Like you said, it's getting your neighbor or it's organizing a countrywide expedition. I mean, It's amazing.
And I think the thing that, we often forget is the amount of data that is gathered. In that 2021, the year after, the second year we said, the billionth bird was recorded on that Saturday of Global Big Day, a billionth bird. And all that data that's now in Cornell with eBird is phenomenal. And it's great. And that information is all free for people to use. And it should be used. It's the biggest citizen science project anywhere in the world. It's phenomenal. And Ian and Ali will be at Birdfair this year promoting eBird, but also promoting Merlin, which is great. We have a great competition called the Public versus Merlin. And that's really fun. We've got two guys who a girl, who's it, Ajay Tagala and Katie Lapwing, I think she's called. They will actually be on the stage with Ali. Do you know Ali Smith from eBird? Anyway, Ali will be sort of playing a song, and then they've got to try and record it and see if Merlin gets it right. It's a great audience participation, and there's such fun things
cool.
like that.
I was curious about Merlin. I wanted to ask you about that too. Are you seeing Merlin being widely used, and is that changing who's birding in the UK?
Massive. I mean, it is changing. I mean, occasionally we get some interesting birds. I don't think I've had too many American robins in the garden, but I have had at least one. So Merlin does make the mistake. Wow, they make a few. But no, it's brilliant. And it's so many people. It's into millions. It's the biggest growth thing in the birding in the UK by far. And it really does engage. And again, I mean, you said earlier on, how do you get people involved? You know, everyone has a phone. Wherever you are, you can be walking in the garden. You could be, at a meeting almost. I mean, and just, secretly put it on and, oh my God, look, what's just turned up. So it's great. Merlin's brilliant.
Yeah. That's so cool. It's cool to hear it being used over there too. Yeah. Okay. I have a little story to share with you.
It's more than you think, it's massive. And
I believe it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey friends, this is George Armistead with Life List, a birding podcast, and I am not only excited about the northern rough-winged swallow I just got on my yard list here, but also excited to talk about Patreon. We've got a newly revamped Patreon for you guys, and if you want more Life List in your life, you can become a Timberdoodle, which is a supporting member of the podcast. You can become a Boom Chachalaka, and also get an extra 12 bonus episodes annually, plus some bloopers behind the scenes. Or you can become among our gadflies and have even more access to us, plus the other stuff we already mentioned. So I really hope you'll go and check out our Patreon. It helps us do what we do here. We've been doing it for a couple years now. We're hoping to do it long into the future, and with your help we can do that. So thanks for listening, and hope we'll have you on as a Patreon member as well. Thanks everybody.
Yeah, we see the same here. Okay, so I just got back from doing this West Virginia culinary and nature tour, and our group was talking about using Merlin, and it's not getting everything right, and we have to be careful about that. By the way, I always say, eBird knows, and Merlin knows that it's not getting everything right. But I'm such a huge supporter of Merlin. But we were sitting down at our last dinner, which was at this greenhouse / bed and breakfast where everyone stayed, and they make a dinner, just one thing every Saturday night. And we all sat down, and the group was saying, oh, it's so great that their greenhouse has all these native plants. And I told them, because this is my neck of the woods, it was close to me, and I said, they haven't always had them. This is like the past couple years. It's been a new thing. And the owner came over and said hi. And he said, well, I got Merlin, and we wanted to start landscaping our backyard to bring more birds in because we're trying to get our bird list up. And now they're stocking native plants. And it's so cool. I mean, they're so focused on that. Our waiter had Merlin too. Everybody has Merlin.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, it's certainly caught on here, and people of all ages can do it. I mean, that's a nice thing. People who perhaps are sort of confined to their homes or gardens, and so it's the sort of thing that can be used from literally a 6-year-old to a 86-year-old or whatever. That's great.
Yeah, you're very right.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting the work that you're doing too, because it starts with really passionate birders who come to the bird fair, right? But then you're bridging all these other gaps like the hunting industry and the fishing industry to work on these conservation measures, and that's really incredible as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think you've got to talk to people. I mean, there's no point thinking, because I'm a conservationist, I know it all, and, I mean, that's the worst conservationists in the world who just think that, everyone should do what they say. You've got to work with people, and that's one thing I've learned enormously. Now, I work and have done, I started with the water company here called Anglian Water. They own the reservoir, and of course their primary objective is to provide, water. But being it's the largest single reservoir in Europe, so it's massive. So when we first started, the fishermen said, "Well, we want to use the fish. We want it for fly fishing." In fact, they've held the World Fly Fishing Championships here. The sailors, of course, said, "Well, we need the whole lot really, because we need to sail from one end, and the Olympic sailors come. We want, people cycle around. Over 2 million tourists come here." So you think, well, how are you going to get all these people to work together? So I started basically a reservoir users committee, and right from day one, before there was even any water in the reservoir, we were getting together and saying, well, look, I can actually do my sport here, and you can do yours. And I said, well, in fact, the shallow end is perfect for wildlife. We can concentrate that. So 9 miles of the shoreline was immediately set aside for nature. And, the fishermen can only come within a certain area, certain boundary or closeness to our to the edges of the reserve and stuff like that. And it's just, and that works well. It's still 50 years later. God, yeah, it's that long ago. 50 years later, it's still working. It's just great to see that. And so, and wherever possible, I would always give Angling Water credit where credit was due. Somebody, I don't like what they're doing. Okay, you might not like what they're doing, but think of the bigger picture. Think of what, companies can achieve. And it's just talking to them and bringing them on board, I think is such an important thing, say, don't think you know it all, basically. And it's difficult. I mean, one of the things that, you mentioned, George, was sort of, how do you change governments? How do you take...
how do you try to influence some of those folks that make the key decisions?
I mean, I'll give you a really, really good example. And look her up, Hannah Bourne-Taylor. Now, Hannah Bourne-Taylor is the most incredible lady. She wrote one book called Fledgling. It's just it's been out a while. I've just been to the launch of her latest book. She is passionate about swifts. Now, all over the world, I suspect it's the same. Insect life is just is just goes so depleted, and of course they're suffering. Also, new houses and are blocking them. They just don't have. They nest under the eaves, the swift, and so to draw attention, she basically walked through the centre of London virtually naked, with very closely designed swifts in certain parts of the body, which I'll leave to your imagination. And of course, the press saw this as amazing. And of course, as soon as she got this massive following, a couple of MPs thought, there's something we can make of this. Let's join her. And it went right to the top. And then the change of government, and suddenly, the new government came in. It was debated in Parliament just recently, and all we wanted to do was get every new house that was going to be built to have a £35 or $50 brick put in every house that would allow the swifts to go in and nest. Oh, well, I don't know if we can do that. And it got thrown out. I don't know if it's what it's like. Well, I do know to a certain extent what it's like in the States, but 5 years is sort of normally about the maximum any government's in, unless they're really lucky. Mm-hmm. And so in that first 5 years, they're only interested in sort of doing what they can to please the masses.
Right.
And that doesn't necessarily involve nature and conservation.
Right. They're not thinking long term.
Yeah, and no one can look long term, and that's the biggest issue we have around the world. It's all short term gain. The only thing that might change, and one of the debates that we're looking at having possibly next year, is how AI can take hold and actually look at how conservation and nature can work for the future. And I think I know little about it. All I know is there's a great new video that's just come out, and it does point to how we can change things by using AI if it's used correctly. I think it's also dangerous as well, but I think I'm too old-fashioned to sort of really know quite how to do it. But this video, I'll send it to you actually as a link, and you can have a look at it.
Yeah,
please do. Curious. We'll share it in the show notes too.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't do all things like that Penny does. I'll just sit here and.
It was nice to meet Penny. We met Penny briefly.
We got to meet her at the beginning there. That was good.
Yeah, Penny?
Yeah.
She's probably feeding dogs or something. I'll try to come in a moment and say hi.
Cool.
Right, yeah, so where are we? Ospreys.
Well, One person you mentioned was Bill Thompson, and who was also a mentor of mine, and Molly worked with Bill also for years, so we knew Bill well, and also remember him fondly, and I was fortunate enough to travel with him as well, and enjoyed those trips immensely. And you mentioned that every now and then you get to go check out new festivals, or festivals that are just getting going. Maybe they've been going for a year. Maybe they're actually just starting for the very first time. I was curious if you know of any upcoming that maybe either are lesser known or maybe brand new even. And I'm curious to ask you about travel as well, and if you have any particularly exciting places coming up, because we talk a lot about cool birding places all over the world here.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just before Christmas, we were invited out to Borneo, to the Borneo Bird Festival.
Exactly the one I had in mind, because I'm very curious about this one. Yeah.
I mean, as a result of that meeting, we then obviously, we get to meet not just the people involved in the actual organization, but, suddenly government people want to meet you, and we talk about, and particularly in the tourism business. So as a result of that meeting, Saba are now one of our major sponsors for the fair for the first time ever. And as well as giving us a lump sum of money as a promotion, they're also promoting the lanyard. And each year, obviously, we have a different lanyard, but they wanted it to show a joint connection with the Borneo Bird Festival. So this year, the new lanyard will not just have Borneo, not just our bird fair logo, but we'll have the Borneo Bird Festival. And then the lanyards will then get resent out there to be used again at the Borneo Bird Festival. So that's, that's a brilliant way of connecting. I mean, so it's simple, but it's so nice. And we were treated like, it's just wonderful. And, I love a dance, and I was sitting on the stage and being all stupid. It was just great fun. And I think that's what I love about life. I mean, I just want to make the most of it and meet. And the thing I noticed more than anything now, I mean, you've been to our fair, George. I mean, they're all, most of the people that come to our fair, an awful lot of certainly older people, partly because, of course, they're the ones that have got the money to spend, and also, they're supporting
and the time, maybe more
businesses. But we are doing a lot more with younger people. I can't think I've got it here now. But we've got a young conservationist hub this year, which we started last year. Really successful, fantastic. It's from 14 to 25-year-olds. We do everything from basically career courses, learning this, learning that, just sharing experiences. How did I get into conservation? What was my first job like? That's been really, really successful. This year, we've also got workshops, and the workshops vary from the likes of Jeff Booten, you'll know Jeff, I guess, doing his digiscoping, through to somebody else from Canon doing photography. Sony have a big stand, and they come and do workshops. We've got a young lad coming in and making nest boxes with the children. So, 15 nest boxes were made and taken home and put in their gardens. We've got somebody talking about, or Ali's talking about, for example, Merlin, how to use Merlin, get the most of it. So that's another thing. We have the Turnstone lecture theatre. So these are for all the authors. So every day for an hour long, right from, first thing when we open at 9 until about 6, we've got all the latest books, wildlife books, and the authors come in and they chat and talk about it. Then they go off and do book signing in one of the huge marquees. We've got 3 huge lecture theatres. 160 lectures will be given, 20-minute long lectures every day. Not every day, but so over the 3 days. And they vary from, people you've heard of, like Stephen Moss, I think, who was at the Big Week last week, and lots of other people. And then we have the main events marquee, the Osprey marquee, which is where, again, the likes of our, well-known celebrities come in and talk and have fun. That's where Peter Harrison will be this year, of course.
And the artists part too is very cool. There's usually you guys have sort of like, I don't know what you call it, but it's almost like a mural situation, and all the different artists that are present, and these are some of the best bird artists in the world, all come and they add little bits and pieces to this painting, what becomes a very unique painting.
Yeah, well, absolutely. I mean, it's funny. I'm glad you mentioned that, because that's one of the things I took out to Egypt and presented to the minister, and that's going to go up in the Galala Bird Sanctuary. But this year, even more exciting, because we're dividing the mural because of the problem with longline fishing. And so John Cox, who does the background, we've chatted how we could basically work on this. So instead of having one long one, we're going to have have 3 separate murals painted at the same time. One will go out, and we've already got this all sorted. One will go out to Fiji and be placed in a key location where the fishermen come in. One is going to go out to South Africa, and that's going to go into where a lot of the liners come in, and so that people see it. And so it'll be talking about Marion Island, and getting you probably know about the
flock to Marion is a
So they're having a stand this year for the first time. They're coming over. And so we're really looking forward to meeting them. And the other one will go out to your part of the world, but it's going to go down to the Falklands, again, on the Falklands Conservation Office. Well, not in the office, it'll actually go in, again, where the liners come in, where tens of thousands of people come in each year. So they'll see it as well. So they'll see, and it's all going to be about, torii lines coming out the back of fishing boats, how that protects, and each one will tell a story. So, I mean, it's incredible what they do.
Yeah.
And it's just a lovely way to just sit and watch these artists. You do, as you say, paint in just 3 days.
Yeah, it was very fun to watch how that started and just go back and check on it each day and see how it evolved. It was really cool. Artists like Ian Lewington and all sorts of people who are amazing artists.
Absolutely. Yeah. Chris Rose. And
that's amazing.
so lots happening. And so the other thing, of course, I have been involved in, a thing called an osprey. I don't know if you've heard of them. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. We were curious to hear about that because, I mean, that's backyard bird for you now.
Yeah. Well, no,
back in the 70s or something, not so much, huh?
It's a backyard bird that started the whole thing off because in 1994, that shot where I just showed you out through the window there was a big tree where 2 ospreys came and spent the whole of the summer. And of course, that's right, they'll be back next year, we'll build a nest. Until I realised I brought the guru down, Roy Dennis, who's the world's expert from Scotland, and he said, big problem, Tim, they're 2 males. So he thought, well, that might not work as a breeding pair. So we just thought, right, what we could do, of course, is put some platforms up. So we put some platforms up and, basically based on some of the things you do in the States, in those days. But then we thought, well, actually, I'll tell you what we could do. What's the possibility of actually translocating young ospreys from Scotland, where there was a reasonable population getting established, but they hadn't bred in England since 1847? 1847, okay? So we then thought, well, in order to do that, we need to find out a bit more. Now, there was only one other project anywhere in the world that had been translocating ospreys, and that was in Minnesota. So we went across to the Raptor Center there, learned how they did the hacking back and, keeping the young birds, quiet and not being, familiar with people feeding them, et cetera, et cetera. So we went across there, had a brilliant time, came back, and then put in some applications to different governments, obviously you can't just go and grab a new bird out of the nest. And so we eventually got permission, brought the first birds down in 1996. 1996 wasn't that successful because the experts in this country said, well, you better take the weakest bird because that's not going to survive anyway. So at least if you give it a better chance for feeding it, it might do. Well, 6 of the birds didn't survive, but they suddenly realized the other 6 that did, maybe we made a mistake here. So they then said, right, the following year, in 1997, you can take the middle bird. So the number 3 comes to become the second bird in the nest, which, of course, has the food fed by the parent. And, of course, the survival rate suddenly was greater because they weren't feeding 3 birds, they were feeding only 2 birds. All our 12 birds, which we did each year, survived. They then obviously fly off to Africa, west coast of Africa, where they spend about 2 years before they return. And I found a bird in 1999 making a nest literally in the wood the other side of my garden. And that was the first sort of nest building that had been seen in England, for 100 and whatever years.
Wow.
And then in 2001, that same bird, year 2000, it found a female. And I don't know if you've ever seen them. They do, the males fly over again.
Oh, yeah. The very shrill sky dancing.
And you think, my God, that's not a proper noise for a bird. It's
better than the great bustard, but yeah.
Well, that's true. Yeah. We won't try to do that. Thank you. Look at the rested, I think.
That's right.
And uh, then in 2001, I found the first nest, and that was literally the first osprey nest in England for since 1847. And
Amazing.
now we've produced well over 260 chicks from the pairs in this area, and they're now colonizing all over England, and really exciting. So, yeah, that probably is, one has been a great achievement, and it's such an iconic bird that people just love it. And again, they love seeing them. They love seeing, and the photographers. We're working with a hide nearby where they've got a small fish farm. And we built the hide so it's at literally water level. So they see the birds coming in. We alert them saying, another such a bird is coming in. Quick, make sure. So that hide is full twice a day with 5 people paying nearly 80, 90 pounds. So that fish farm is making a fortune. But it's providing fish, it's just an amazing way of engaging people. Other than that, people can come to the reserve and see the birds on the nest. We've got cameras, you can look at that. In fact, people, if you can put that link on, so they've got 4 young.
Yep. Oh, cool.
So, yeah, that's been great fun. And it is iconic birds like that do provide that spark moment for certain people, for lots of people. Yeah.
Did you have a spark bird, Tim? Was there one kind of epiphany for you, or was it more of a slow drip?
I mean, in a way, it was a slow drip, but I mean, because I was one of these horrible little boys that collected birds' eggs, and in those days, you could do that sort of thing.
Sure.
And, I used to collect dead birds' wings, and things. But what I did, and I love, finding. I mean, I only took 1 egg. I was very good. But I know that's completely.
Right. Today, people wouldn't think to do it, but back then, it was kind of how a lot of people learned, right? I mean, it was
exactly. It was, it was the only way you could learn. But I found a nightjar's nest I lived in a city called Bristol in the West Country, and we were only 4 miles from the centre of Bristol, but we're on the edge of a golf course, and I found this nest when I was probably about 9, something like that, I guess. And I just watched the birds, and of course, they make this amazing call, this churring call. And I think that really set me on the path. I haven't seen that many since, but it's not an area we get them around here. But it's a great bird, and yeah, I think that probably was a moment that sort of set me off. But I've been working with. I mean, I live very close to. You mentioned right in the beginning, Sir Peter Scott, and I got to know Peter very, very well because I was deputy curator at Slimbridge for nearly 5 years. But as a child, I was always fascinated with ducks and geese and swans, and I think I've got about 12 left in the world to see. So it's been my target to try and get to see all the water, the ducks, geese, and swans. But I used to see Peter's mum and dad would drop me off at the Slimbridge, which is the home of the WWT, the Wildfowl and Wetlands Trust, and I'd see Peter, painting across the ponds in his lovely studio. Thinking, wow, one day I wonder if I'll ever see him. And then, of course, eventually got a job there. I got to know him very well, and it was just, iconic guy. He was just so nice and so normal. It's the same with so many of these, so-called, like David Attenborough. I mean, he's the nicest guy. A few years ago, I picked him up outside his house because he was doing a video for me, and he was on his hands and knees in his white suit, picking weeds out of the crevices on the pavement. And he was just an incredible guy, and Peter was the same, absolutely normal and lovely. And everyone called him Peter, it was never Sir Peter or anything like that. In fact, I met Roger Tory Peterson then as well at Slimbridge. He came across, and
RTP, yeah.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So I met a few good people. And Jean Delacour was one of the other great people from Clare. I mean, he was an incredible man. I mean, he wrote, of course, the 4 volumes of The Waterfowl of the World. And I used to go across to Clare and take birds to him and, bring back birds that he was breeding for Slimbridge. That was a long, long time ago.
Yeah, but man, and there were so many more birds around back then too.
Too true.
Yeah. Well, we're getting close to our time here, but I wanted to ask you 2 questions.
Oh, dear.
I was curious if there is a bird. This is a question I'm finding myself asking people more and more often, just because I feel like it leads to interesting stories. Sometimes they're like, no, it's it's the opposite. But what is a bird that you have communed with in the last week or so, spent time with, or that has found you? And with your yard, do you have any really overdue birds in the garden there that for your garden list that you're like, I can't believe I haven't found this one yet? Or just one that you're like, I really want to find this in the garden, as improbable as it might be?
Well, if I tell you where we are, just exactly, I'm literally in the heart of England. So you couldn't be further from the coast, okay? We've had Leach's petrel, we've had Corrige shearwater, we've had great skewers, we've had Arctic skewers, we've had long-tailed skewers, we've had eider. So you can see it's getting quite. This is over all the years. This is, so it's going to be difficult.
The list is getting short of new possible additions.
I'd say puffin would be quite nice, but I've just learnt today that Skoma have had a record year of 43,000 puffins on the island. So I know Skoma's a bit further away, but a puffin would be very nice. Very unlikely, but who knows? We're now getting white-tailed seagulls coming in from the from the release project down in the Isle of Wight. So you never know what could turn up. And what do I miss this year? Well, I'll tell you what I'm missing at the moment for this year. If I go 500 meters to my left here, and I'm on the reserve, there's probably about 30 or 40 ring plovers going through on migration. These are the Greenland birds that come. Yeah, the tundra ones come in very late, and I haven't had a ring plover this year from the garden, and yet I've had other much rarer waders passing through: bar-tailed godwits, black-tailed godwits, green shank, wood sandpipers, and that sort of stuff. So that's the bird I'm on the lookout at the moment. The other bird I've engaged with this week, is the little ring plover. They've just hatched yesterday 4 young, so I'm really keen to make sure they survive.
There is nothing cuter in all the world than baby plovers. Maybe the American woodcock babies we're going to find at your place, Molly, this weekend. But but baby plovers are tough to beat.
Like little clockwork mice, don't they? It's just brilliant.
Really ridiculous.
Yeah.
Wow. So, well, puffin is a great target, and the idea, all those shorebirds you just really got the blood flowing. I'm headed to Alaska very soon, and any one of them would make a wonderful addition to our trip list. So
there you go.
Well, I'll tell you what. One thing I mentioned very quickly, if I can, if you've got time. I mentioned about wanting to see all the ducks of the world. Well, one of the birds that had eluded me until recently was the spectacled eider. And I was trying to work out how I could afford to fly to Alaska. I was going to see, perhaps someone could have a bird fair there and I could go and open it or something.
You go.
So anyway, I thought there's no way, in this now that, I'm getting on, that I'll probably ever get across there. And then suddenly, you may or may have heard this, a spectacled eider's turned up off the coast of Holland.
Gorgeous male. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely incredible bird. So Penny and I got up one morning. We drove down to Luton Airport, got on a EasyJet flight across to Amsterdam, hired a car, drove up to Texel, the island where it was, saw the bird, had a meal, had a couple of pints, drove back. One of us drove back anyway, and got the plane back, and we were in bed by sort of 11 o'clock that night. I don't normally twitch, but
that's epic. That is an epic
Pretty
bird.
special one.
So it's fabulous. Absolutely amazing. It's still there as well.
Yeah. Well, I would still advocate that you should go do, at some point, I am sure they would love to have you, the Homer Birding Festival in Homer, Alaska, which is not near, they don't get spectacled eiders there, but they do get a bunch of other cool stuff. And from there, you could, take a quick flight up to Utqiagvik, or Barrow as it used to be known, and be in the breeding grounds on a relatively short flight. So food for thought for you and for others. Do the Homer Birding Festival and then do some other birding. Alaska is not so bad once you've gotten there.
That'd be cool. I have been to Homer years and years and years ago. I saw my first black bears there.
Mm-hmm.
Sadly dead. They were just shot that morning. They were hanging outside the butchers.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Yeah. No, I've seen them driving around there for sure. And even in the parks in Anchorage, sometimes I remember last year I was there kind of before my tour started, and some biker, I saw him go past, and then he just yelled back, "Bear!" And I was like, okay, I think maybe I'll just do a quick about face here.
So do you do a lot of tours?
Yeah. Yep. Quite a few. Yeah. So
why not do one next year to Birdfair? Have a day at Birdfair, then carry on up to Yorkshire and Norfolk. Do the puffins, do this, do that. It's a great time. It's not a bad time of year.
Well, we've done that with Columbia Birdfair. It's a
Yeah.
model we've run.
That's right.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
It's
that is
pretty
good
fun to
food for
do.
thought. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Good.
maybe we'd get you out for a pint during that trip as well, Tim. That would be good.
More than one.
All right. Now we're talking. Nice. Well, thank you so much for doing this. Really appreciate you taking the time. I know it's getting late in the day there, and there's probably just enough light left for you to go get yourself a ringed plover, if not a couple. But yeah, really appreciate you doing this, Tim, and thanks for all you're doing for conservation. Yeah, any final messages for anybody that you'd like to share?
I just think that I go back to the fact that, passion is so important. It's something that people don't often have time for these days. And I think you've got to make time. Don't feel that you're under such pressure that you haven't got time to go and out and enjoy nature. Nature is the most wonderful healing factor that you'll ever have. And however pressurized you are, just put your pen down, that makes me, I should have said, put your quill down, shouldn't I?
There you go.
Switch the computer off. Just go out and enjoy nature,
Yeah.
because you won't find anything better in life.